My name is Adam Crowder, and the issue that I'm going to be discussing today is time and stress management for store managers of retail locations, particularly Verizon locations, because that's where I'm currently working. And what I want to discuss today is the art of balance and delegation. I feel like a lot of times we get bogged down in thinking that time management and stress management are somehow mutually exclusive, but what you see generally when you work at different levels of management across different spectrums is that time management and stress management really kind of go hand in hand because very rarely do you see a person who manages their time well yet is stressed out all the time, or manages their stress well yet has no time to do anything. So learning how to balance these is crucial in order to be successful. So the first thing I want to take a look at is a quote by Peter Drucker, which says, "Management by objective works if you know the objectives. 90% of the time you don't." And essentially what he's saying here is you have to know the direction in which you're going. You have to know what your goal is. If you don't have any idea what direction you're going or what your goal is, then really you're just kind of working against yourself. So I want to talk first about the art of defining the matrix. At Verizon, we have a series of matrices of things that you're expected to understand, directions that you're expected to go, tasks that you're supposed to accomplish, and we fill boards with these, whether they're strategic products, insurance, different types of devices, omni-channel, just various things that they want you working toward, and it changes on a regular basis. But if you can stop long enough to define what the matrix is actually asking you to do based on your first line supervisors, then you're able to filter that information down to your subordinates and your employees. So first things first is to focus on the essentials. What is it that they're telling you at the beginning of the month matters to them this month? There's typically accessory revenue, there's the number of activations that you do, there's insurance, there's trade-ins, but every single month these are going to change. But you need to know what the essential ones are, because every day you're going to have a phone call at about 4 o'clock, and you're going to have to discuss with them what strategic products you've sold, how many portable chargers you've sold, what things you've done that match up to the matrices that they actually care about for that given week, and it's going to change on a regular basis. The second is to be flexible and understand the fact that it is going to change, and it's okay that it changes, and don't get bogged down with trying to pursue one single metric on the matrix that they've given you, because you have to pursue the metrics that they deem valuable, and then you have to instill that in the people that you're responsible for. Thirdly is remember what gets people paid. Part of your responsibility in being able to define that matrix is to then be able to filter down the information to your employees of what your superiors care about and how that affects the way that they get paid, because all of your employees work on a commission basis along with an hourly wage. So half the time they don't have any idea how they get paid, even on the basic things like activations, let alone when you start throwing in an accessory matrix, a strategic matrix, you start throwing in spiffs for different things that they're selling, edge programs. You have to be the subject matter expert on what it is that they need to do to get commission checks, because most salespeople's number one motivating factor should be money. That's why they work in a commission-based environment. And lastly, you need to build teamwork. If you're not bringing in people that have expertise in different areas and you're not helping them understand how to work with one another to be successful, then you're going to fail as a store manager, because as a store manager, if you can make all of your reps successful, then you will find success. If you have a couple superstars and then you have a couple people that are scraping the bottom of the barrel, then you're never going to be successful, because you need to be able to build them together into a team so that all of them are striving in the same direction, because ultimately when they all do that and they are all successful, then you will be successful, and that success comes from an understanding of the way that your matrix works. The next quote that we're going to look at says that good management is the art of making problems so interesting and their solutions so constructive that everyone wants to get to work and deal with them. When people dread coming into work, there's a problem. When people feel unfulfilled when they leave work, there is a problem. Every single day when you come to work as a manager, your job is to look at the day, look at the week, look at the month, realize what the issues are that are revolving around what you need to be successful, and then take those problems, find solutions to them, and pour those solutions into the people that are making you successful. Because ultimately, you do have responsibility as a manager, and there are some things that you can be successful for as a manager, but your number one success comes from the success of the people that answer to you. And so if you're not getting them excited about what you're doing, then there's an issue. And this leads me right into my next topic, which is the art of delegation. The art of delegation, no matter what spectrum you work in, becomes extremely important, and it starts with developing levels of priority. You have to understand what it is as a manager that you need to do. And then you have to understand as a manager what it is that you can hand off to everyone else. And Covey talks about this when he talks about the 4 different quadrants and the way that they function in terms of priority. But there has to come a point as a manager when you go, this is something that only I can do. Only the manager is going to be on the 4 o'clock call talking to the district manager. And that's because that's what the district manager has deemed as a priority, which means if something comes up at 4 o'clock, he needs to be able to hand that issue off to the assistant managers, to the senior sales reps, or to the sales reps themselves. But he has to understand the level of priority of what only he can do, what the assistant managers could handle, what the sales reps can handle. And by doing that, you're able to give them levels of authority that will grow and develop them into future success. And if you're not growing and developing your people into future success, then you're setting them up for failure, and people eventually get tired of working for you. They get burnt out, and then you have all kinds of issues. The second is to develop competence. Don't ask your subordinate leadership to do something that you've never trained them to do. If you want them to do something, train them to do it, make them feel competent in it, and when you do, then hold them accountable to the things that you want them to do. And by doing that, you develop the ability to step back and focus on the things that actually matter for you, and give them the ability to grow and develop as junior leaders, as sales reps, and you're putting a lot of autonomy and authority in their hand because you know that they understand how to do it, and you can reward them for success or hold them accountable for failure. Thirdly is be willing to hear no. You have to understand that sometimes your subordinate leadership is going to come to you and say no, and they need the freedom to do so, because when you begin to get in delegation, a lot of times you're going to put more on their shoulders than they're able to carry. And if they don't have the freedom to say no to you, then it's going to come back to bite you, because you're going to heap more on them than they can do. And when they don't do it and they can't do it, you're stuck with either firing them and doing all of the work yourself, or answering to your leadership because it wasn't done, and ultimately that responsibility falls upon you. Fourthly is be willing to say no. You have to be able to model to them the willingness to say no, because just like you're human, so are your superiors, and sometimes they're going to heap more on you than you can do. And when they do, you need to be able to look back at them and say no, for the same reason that your subordinate leadership needs to be able to look back to you and say no, because ultimately your failure is going to fall upon your leadership. And lastly, develop trust among subordinate leadership. You have to know that the people that you're handing the baton to are capable of doing the things and willing to do the things that you want them to do. And a lot of times in a retail environment, you don't pick your assistant managers. You may appoint your senior sales reps, or they may have been appointed before you got there, but you need to know through whatever process it is that you deem worthy that you are able to trust them in the things that you're going to hand them. And don't hand them more than you trust them to accomplish, or you're going to find yourself in a predicament where you're going to create hostility and animosity and the possibility for failure in the things that you've decided to do. The last quote is, being in control of your life and having realistic expectations about your day-to-day challenges are the keys to stress management, which is perhaps the most important ingredient to living a happy, healthy, and rewarding life. I put this in there last because the one thing you have to remember as a manager is that you are the modeler of everything that you espouse to the people who are looking toward you for leadership. If you don't have control of your life, if your own expectations aren't realistic, which I am extremely guilty of, if you aren't able to meet your day-to-day challenges, if you can't manage your stress, if you can't manage your time, if you hate your life, if your life is falling apart, then what exactly are you going to instill on the people that are looking to you? You have to be able to model to them what it means to do these things. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out to your superiors and ask them how they're doing it. And learn through this process of growth how it is that you can model to them the things that actually matter, so you as a leader can grow and develop the people that you're entrusted with. Thank you for your time, and that's all that I have today. I hope you have success in whatever you do.